Let's start our first method. So our first method of factoring is by GCF. Now please note this is not something that you would be given instructions. So mostly the questions will just say one word, which will be factor, factorize, and that's it. It's up to us to always determine which method to use. And like I said previously, we always would try to do GCF first. So in part B over here, we're going to try to factorize a GCF here. So when we're factorizing a common factor, we have to think about a number as well as variable that we can divide out. Now remember, you're not subtracting out. There's sometimes that people use the word take out. I might use that again too, but what we mean by that is that we're dividing out that GCF. So when I look at these three terms, I have to think of if there's a number that I can divide out from all three terms. So it looks like I can divide out a 4. So that means 4 is my GCF. And then I would also try to see if there is a variable that I can divide out. Looks like I could divide a P from here and here, but I can't do that from the last term. So that means I cannot divide out a variable in this case. So when we divide out of just the number 4, we're left with 2pq minus 1p squared. You don't need to write 1, but you can if you want to. And then negative 4 divided by 4 leaves you with negative 1. This one is really important to write. Okay, so remember there were 3 terms, and when you divided something out, you still should have 3 terms in there. Okay, if you're not sure, think about what you would do as a reverse. If you were to distribute this back in, then you should go back to the original question. So if I were to distribute it in, I should get 8p cubed minus 4p squared minus 4. If you had not put that negative 1 in here when you divided that 4 by 4, you would not get the original question. Okay, so this part is really important, guys. So that becomes our final answer, 4, 2p cubed minus p squared minus 1. Okay. Now, if I were trying to do part C here, again, take a look at as what you can divide from these 2 terms. Okay, so there are only 2 terms in here. I know there's a bracket, but again, a monomial, remember, is when you multiply numbers and variables together. So this would be considered just one term. So if I'm trying to divide something, a number from this term, that would be a 3. And again, 9 can also be divided by a 3. Now look at the variables. There's actually 2 different things that are happening. There's a single variable y, and then there's a bracket y plus 2. Okay, so if I'm thinking about dividing just a y, I could do it from the first term, but the second one doesn't have the single y on its own, so I can't divide y out. Now comes the second, the bracket, a number that is represented by a term that is represented by y plus 2. Yes, definitely that is something both the terms are have, so I can divide that out. So it becomes part of my GCF. Okay, so y plus 2 represents a number. If you knew what y was, we would have just said y plus 2 becomes one number. So that's why we treat it like a single number. So what's my GCF here? 3y plus 2. And what's left? Let's see. 3 divides the 3, so that becomes a 1. Nothing divides this y out, so that will be left here. Y plus 2 divides the y plus 2, so that divided out. So from the first term, there was only the y that got left over. And in the second one, negative 3 divided by 3 gives me a negative 3. And then y plus 2 divides the y plus 2 to become 1. So again, we're only left with negative 3 from that second one. So this now becomes my final answer. 3y plus 2 times y minus 3. Okay, I would like you guys to pause this video and just try part 1 on your own, 1A. The answer is on the screen in Moodle as well. And if you don't get the answer, please continue watching this video to see how it's done. So in part A, again, we're going to try dividing out two things. One is a number and second is a variable. So between 15 and 5, we can divide out both of them by a 5. So that will become our GCF. And then also for variables, think about what you can divide both x cubed and x squared with. So the most you can divide out is x squared, okay? Because you can't divide this by any higher x. So now 5x squared becomes my GCF. And when I divide these out, the 5 divides a 15 to become a 3. You don't have to write these steps here. I'm just showing it to you guys. And between x cubed and x squared, when they divide out, you're just left with 1x. So from the first term, it's just 3x. In the second one, the 5 divides the 5 to become 1. X squared and x squared completely divide out to become 1. So all I'm left with is minus 1. So that becomes my answer right here.